Alright, it's been a week. So what's been going on in the modern metagame after Arkham's Astrolabe's banning? Everyone, this is Nikachu, Merfolk Master, and, well, the more things change, the more things stay the same. I have to say that the banning of Arkham's Astrolabe has not actually shaken up Modern to the degree that we thought it would. In fact, I actually think it looks incredibly similar to the old metagame, and I think a lot of the people who said that Arkham's Astrolabe was not the problem, their voices are probably going to get strong over the next few weeks as we're going to go through this list. All right, so first off, let's just get one thing out of the way. It's like Control didn't even change. The banning of Arkham's Astrolabe seems to have not really deterred any of the Control players. So first off, Sultai Control still exists. Playing Dead of Winter, Ice Fang Quaddle, still putting up really good results, as if nothing ever happened. I saw some lists playing with like Search for Azcanta, and well, I mean, basically the deck is still the same. Literally, like it's like they didn't go anywhere. And anyone who is playing blue-white or banned, they're going the Stoneblade route. There are some Control decks, but I would say at a very competitive level, there aren't that many. For the most part, the Control decks that have been putting up the really big finishes in the big events have been Stoneblade decks, and they're going in blue-white and also bent directions. So they're just replacing Arkham's Astrolabe with Stoneforge Mystic and the package to get the value that they need. And maybe that also has to do with the fact that the Control decks don't know exactly how to tune themselves for today's metagame. We have to wait for that to happen. For now, the Stoneblade proactive variant is the way that they want to go. Although I have to say the Sultai decks are still around. So even that we thought that these decks would dissolve, they haven't. They're still around. We still got Ice Fang Quaddle. We still have Uro. Those things are still in the metagame, so it actually appears that Arkham's Astrolabe did not have as much of an influence on those archetypes as we thought. But you know what? Maybe we still have to wait for some time to go by to see if the metagame is going to adjust further. So one really surprising big winner out of all of this is Jund. Jund is actually a really big surprise winner. And I didn't think that that was necessarily going to happen, because I wouldn't say they're the best in a Blood Moon environment. Because remember, Arkham's Astrolabe is banned, therefore Blood Moon is going to be way more effective. And maybe we could just interject over here. There has definitely been a spike in Red-Green Ponza, but it's not the dominant amount of Red-Green Ponza that I thought would take over the metagame. We definitely see more Red-Green Ponza. I'm in the trenches in the leagues. I'm seeing it like pretty often, but still it is not the single most dominant archetype in the metagame. Therefore, you know, there's still a lot of room for other decks like Jund. Of course, Jund can win through a Blood Moon. They've got a lot of permanent removal. They can fetch for basics. They can utilize the red mana. And so the thing is, I don't really see the metagame that different than it was like a week ago. So why is Jund, which wasn't really that big before, so much bigger now? And I think it's because they've utilized Lurrus. There has been, it's not a metagame change, it is an internal change. They are now utilizing Lurrus of the Dream Den to put the deck over the top. They can bring back Tarmogoyfs and Mishra's Bauble and Scavenging Ooze, and so all these Jund archetypes, they can now utilize Lurrus. Not playing it as a companion, playing it in the main deck. Forget wasting your time paying 3 mana. Just put it into the deck. That's fine. That's great value with lifelink. Beautiful. So Jund decks have skyrocketed in numbers. So there's a lot of Jund going on right now. That was a very unexpected big winner. Certainly I could imagine they would be doing better, but not that much better. And like a lot of the Jund players are saying, you know, they weren't that so good because of the Control environment, but that Control environment's still here. You know, we didn't really leave it. It's still around. I will admit that a lot of these Control decks have moved to the Stoneforge Mystic package. Perhaps that's better for the Jund archetype because they can kill the Stoneforge Mystic and perhaps just try to tempo them out from there. Not to mention, you know, Kolaghan's Command is a beating against Batterskull. Let's just say that. So Jund, a very big winner. Now another big winner that I wasn't necessarily expecting, but I can sort of understand, is Eldrazi-tron. So Eldrazi-tron already was one of the best decks before the banning of Arkham's Astrolabe. So we're going to still see a lot of Eldrazi-tron for two reasons. The first one is that it was a very heavily played deck. It was everywhere. So if you still own the deck, like, why would you dump it all of a sudden? So we're still going to see a lot of Eldrazi-tron for that reason. But another reason is I think they made a really big innovation with Mazemind Tome. That card has smoothed out the draws, helped them dig for the important answers in their deck against any particular archetype, and also is just card advantage. So Mazemind Tome was a huge addition recently from Core 21 that's been placed in the Eldrazi deck, and like I've told many people, there are so many slots still for Eldrazi-tron to replace. There's so much room for improvement. You know, it's not like humans is in a spot where they have so many good tools that when they get a new tool, they're like, oh, what do we have to get rid of? Okay, Unsettled Mariner is here. We got now a new 3-mana Lord. Like, what do we take out? Like, everything is already good. Whereas with Eldrazi-tron, they've got tons of stuff that they can gut. You know, the deck isn't perfect by any means. Mazemind Tome was a fantastic addition to the archetype, so that's why we're still seeing tons of Eldrazi-tron in the metagame, performing really well. The Tunneling Cat, she won the Modern Championship with Eldrazi-tron, so it's still proving to be an incredibly powerful force in today's modern metagame. Some other notable decks that we're seeing a lot of, any sort of prowess archetype, either mono red or is it, still very popular right now, and also goblins. Goblins is still performing pretty well. You can expect to see goblins in the metagame at the moment. So let's now take a little bit of time to talk about the losers. And I have to say, some of these are expected, some of these are not. Because for the most part, like, nothing changed in Modern. All right, we still have Eldrazi-tron, we still have the control decks, we still have, you know, Prowess and Stoneforge Mystic. Like, I mean, in some way, you know, Stoneforge Mystic was a winner. We understood that. And as a result, one of the losers is basically Blue-White Control. I don't think they found their footing yet. I don't think they found where they want to be in the metagame, how they want to build the deck. I do see the 5-0s in the leagues, but that's not those aren't modern challenges. Those aren't preliminaries. Those aren't modern championships where, you know, like, you have to have like a really good fine-tuned control list against really strong players. So at a super competitive level, I'm not seeing the results that Blue-White Control wants to have. But again, let's not forget that it might be influenced by the fact that a lot of these control players might be adopting the Stoneforge Mystic package. But still, at the same time, if they're adopting the Stoneforge Mystic package, that means Blue-White Control is not there. But as usual, control decks, they are very reactive, so they may need more time to figure out exactly where is the metagame going to settle. Maybe they anticipated there was going to be a lot of red-green pawns, and like, very little showed up. It showed up, but not like to the extent that like it was dominating the format. So anyway, Blue-White Control not nearly as, and Blue-White Control variants, basically non-Stoneblade versions of Control, outside of Sultai. Sultai is still around, but basically Blue-White Control not as big as it was before. Maybe a huge loser that I really wasn't expecting as much, but I understand a little bit, Urza. Urza like basically fell off the map. There's not many Urza decks out there. Now, one reason could be that the Urza players are just overreacting and they're like just putting the deck to a side because, you know, they got their piece banned, a very important piece of the deck banned, and they don't want to trust the deck for the moment, and they'll try to make the innovations in a few weeks or month. That happens all the time. Like, for example, Amulet Titan got Once Upon a Time banned from it. And even though the deck was incredibly strong with like Dryad of the Elysian Grove and the new Field of the Dead and Valakut package, which is still relevant today, which is why we still see Amulet Titan today in Titan ramp decks. when Once Upon a Time got banned, the whole deck just disappeared basically for a month because people didn't really want to trust it after a ban. All right, they lost one of their cards, and everyone else is still playing sideboard hate for them. Why do they want to play this deck? So Urza might be in that same pool where a very key ingredient to their deck got banned, and certainly they could make some replacements with Chromatic Star or maybe some other innovation, but they're not going to do it right now. They're just going to take a break, maybe even psychologically take a break because, you know, one of the key cards from their deck got axed, and then they will get back to the deck and get back into the metagame. But for now, like, very few Urza decks are showing their face, and it might be an overreaction to the ban, or they've actually just, or maybe that, like, it just can't compete. I don't know. We're gonna have to wait and see. I still believe that Urza has more than enough tools to compete in the modern metagame because, well, I mean, it's still Urza. Emery and Urza are a great combination, but it is a bit weird to see that Urza's not really here, but we still see like Sultai control and Bant variants and Blue-White variants with Stoneblade. Very curious, very odd. I'd love to know what your thoughts are about this. What do you think about the evolution of Modern after the banning of Arkham's Astrolabe? Because when I take a look, it doesn't look like much has changed. Doesn't look like much has changed. Maybe there's more prowess, and that's about it. Anyway, give me your thoughts in the comment section below. This has been Nikachu, Merfolk Master, talking about the winners and losers for Modern after the banning of Arkham's Astrolabe.